Hi, Vicky.
Hi, Alejandra.
So great to see you
Great to see
again.
you. I love that picture, that
Yeah.
last picture. I mean, I miss those pants, and so when I look at that picture, I'm like, why did I give those pants away? They're fabulous. But we look so young. It's like shocking.
Vicky, you are still the same.
Yeah.
It's so great to see you again. How many years? More than 20, right?
No, because we did Iris together. So
Oh,
2002, so 18 years.
wow.
That's
Yes.
close to 20.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Wow. I completely forgot about Iris. What a great experience that was.
Yeah, that was fun. We were there for the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Sure.
Vicky, so welcome to these conversations that I wanted to create to start reconnecting with all of you from my times at University of Michigan that I had to say that probably were the most beautiful
Mm.
moments for me. And and I'm so thankful to have met all of you. And so I just wanted to start reconnecting and to see what everybody's doing now. So this is what this conversation is about. And of course, there are going to be many people that have never seen us before. So I would
Sure.
love for you to start telling us a little bit where are you from, Vicky, and of course, Vicky's a violinist, and
Yeah.
tell us also how music came into your life.
Great. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, but moved to the Philadelphia area, New Jersey, when I was 2 years old. And I grew up in Morristown, New Jersey, which is outside of Philadelphia. Music came to my life when I was in kindergarten. At the school I went to, uh, one of my classmates came in and played violin for show and tell. Her dad happened to be in the Philadelphia Orchestra, and that meant nothing to me at the time, but later I was like, oh, that's cool. So anyway, she played violin for show and tell, and I was fascinated. And I just remember one day in the car, my parents, asking if we wanted to play a musical instrument. And my sister says that my sister Jenny, I don't know if you ever met my sister, she said that she wanted to play violin first. And then I was like, I want to play violin. And then she's like, fine, I'll play flute. But I don't remember that. I just remember wanting to play violin because I remember the show and tell and thinking, it was cool. So that's how it started. I mean, my parents both come from a somewhat musical background, I think. My dad played clarinet growing up, and my mom had played piano and actually had gone to college, and I think she majored in music and piano. I could be wrong. She'll correct me later if I am. So anyway, so they encouraged us to play. So it just became a part of our life growing up. And then I think pretty early on, I knew I wanted to be a musician. I studied with a woman who lived around the corner from us, and then she moved, and I recommended somebody, and then I ended up with this wonderful man who was in the Philadelphia Orchestra, Frank Costanza, and then moved to Silvio Ramjan, and then went to college. So it was like throughout my high school years, I went to Temple Music Prep and did Philadelphia Youth Orchestra, and eventually ended up at Oberlin with Kathleen Winkler. And then 6 weeks into my time at Oberlin, she said she was going to Rice. And I said, I'm following you to Rice because I really went to Oberlin to study with her. The first time I met her, I was like, I need to study with this woman. I felt such a strong connection to her, and, musically, and her personalities gelled well. And then as a graduate student, applying for different things. And my sister had gone to Michigan. So I was like, I'm not going to do the thing where I follow my sister and everyone says, oh, you're Jenny Ansel's little sister. And I was like, I can't do that. And I met Paul Cantor when I was an undergrad. I thought he was great, but I didn't feel the same connection then that I did with Kathy Winkler. But as a graduate student, when I met him later, I really did feel like it was the best blend for me then. So I got into Michigan, and he was calling and offered me a teaching assistantship, and I just felt drawn there. And initially, it wasn't a place I thought I want to go for the reasons I told you. And then I ended up there and loved it, loved Paul, loved the whole Michigan experience. And I don't know if you remember this, Alejandra, when I was making the decision, he gave me, do you remember? He gave me like 2 students to call, and I think it was you and Jenny Thompson. And I called you up, and you were so convincing. And, so I was like, you loved Paul, you loved Michigan. And I was like, okay, that's not, I mean, you pretty much sold me, even though I knew I wanted to go at that point. I think you kind of sealed the deal. So, yeah.
It probably was the accent.
Yeah, and I loved the way you say, can you say my name? I think everyone needs to hear you say my name.
Vicky.
I was like, that's it. I'm going to Michigan so I can eventually be in a string quartet with Alejandra.
Yes. While I was listening you, I was thinking how important it is to, when, just one experience with you with the violin, that you had this moment to hear this instrument, and it made you to decide to be a violinist. How powerful those moments can be, and
yeah,
it's really amazing how in different ways we can go into becoming a musician. And of course it's wonderful that your parents also played an instrument,
and they were very encouraging. My parents were never, they were tough, and they disciplined us for sure. I always include my sister in that, because I think of my youth in music, and I think of my sister as a part of that too. They definitely were like regimented and do this and do that, but they were so encouraging. When we had those moments that we all have, where we have a bad performance, you fall off the horse and you don't want to get back on. Nope, you can do it. For me, I had a lot of performance anxiety that sort of, it started, and I remember playing the Lalo Concerto and completely blowing it the first movement. And then after that, just kind of, having to pick up the pieces, and be like, okay, I can do this, and figuring out ways to deal with performance anxiety. And Paul and Kathy were obviously, the teachers were great for that. So, it's not an easy path, becoming a musician, the work that we put in, the practicing, but you always have those moments that keep you in it, that you remember that performance where you felt 100% connected to your instrument, the people you were playing with, the audience. And those are the moments that I try to, remember, pull back into when I have those dark moments where I'm like, why do I do this? It's so hard. And then I'm like, because that feeling when everything comes together, and that's so special that I feel like I can't do anything else. And then I tell myself that I can't do anything else, because there's you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I met Kathleen Winkler. I was probably very young. I might have been maybe 14 or 16. She came to Chile.
Oh, wow.
With a group of other musicians, and it was really amazing, because I remember her being very sweet and of course a wonderful musician. I was completely blown away when I heard her play, So I remember her from those moments when I was really young, and of course, Paul Cantor for me is I have him in my heart,
Yeah.
I treasured all my time with him, especially because I felt that he had a way to get into my mind that I wouldn't realize, So I would start doing things with my instrument that I couldn't really know how I did it, And for me, that he created this atmosphere of positiveness, and I just love that of him,
For me, different teachers bring out different things in you. And Kathy Winkler, it's funny, I called her Miss Winkler for so long. And so then I was like I think finally when I was 35, she's like, you can call me Kathy. And it felt really strange. But when I went to her, she really took me on at a time where I needed to be rehabilitated and getting on stage and performing. And she told me to play from my heart and, such beautiful things. I mean, I love her so dearly. I love Paul as well. And I remember going to him and I thought I played in tune before I studied with Paul. And then and then he was like, nope, are you really listening? And then I started doing those tuning exercises with the open strings and the perfect intervals. And what really struck me, I remember the first piece I learned with him was Isai number 4. And I was playing it in a departmental at Michigan my first semester. And I kept thinking, this is great. I feel super strong with this piece. And he's like, it can be better. Nope, take it to the next level. It can be better. And that's what I loved about him. He was never insulting or throwing things, and he was super positive, but he also knew that he could get more out of me and that your pitch could be this much better. You could phrase this, or and I think that's what I took from him. And not that, Kathy was like that as well, but I think for some reason he just kept pushing certain buttons with me. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. I could play that better. I could make this more in tune. I could really think about what I want to do. And so.
Yeah. And does it happen to you? It happens to me. That is why I wonder that when you grab your instrument, that your teachers are there, like.
Yes, less and less. But I remember my first recital when I was a professional. I think it was at Ohio State, and I felt like I had Paul on one shoulder and Kathy on the other, and kept like, Becky, that your bow distribution wasn't perfect. This way, it's really hard to have them be a part of your life. But yeah, I definitely still hear them and think about those things, and especially when I'm approaching a new piece. And it's like, how do I want to learn this, and the steps I would take. Yeah.
And that takes me to the other part of this, about your experience of being a teacher. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience teaching?
Yeah, I love teaching. I love teaching all different levels. And for a long time, I was in the teaching college level. For me, it's such a beautiful journey to take when you take a student, and it's maybe because of my experiences with my teachers, they were super close, that it's such a special relationship. So as a teacher, I really want my students to find their voice. So whether obviously with beginners, that's a little hard. The more advanced students, showing them the different steps and perfecting their techniques so they can artistically, musically have more control over their instrument. So, and as a musician, violinist, conductor, violinist, some people take to that a lot more easily. Some students, you have to spoon feed every phrase. Other students, you just make a suggestion and they, create. I love teaching all levels. I find them challenging. Some students have more technical, I hate to use the word deficiencies, challenges. Than others. Some students, they come in and you're like, wow, I need to do nothing with you, which is never true, but it's definitely a journey with each student. And for me, it's always been enjoyable to be a part of that and shape them and hopefully be a positive part of that. So yeah, that's been my experience. More recently, I'm teaching younger students. I do have a few who come to me, college students, for coaching, but mostly I'm teaching more advanced high school students, and then I have a few beginners. And then I have a few adult students who are beginners, which I love because there's no pressure. They just want to learn, and they're so eager to pick up a new hobby. And it's great. It's a lot harder to teach adult students because playing violin is not the most comfortable thing. and your muscles, that's, we start when we're 5, 6, depending, and we get used to holding the instrument up. But for someone who's, in their 30s, 40s, or even older, it's painful. So,
it's so unnatural. Yeah.
It's completely unnatural. I mean, playing cello is here, playing violin, it's not the most comfortable instrument, but yeah,
Vicky, I have beautiful memories of both of us playing in the Recital string quartet. Remember those years when
the graduate string quartet?
Yeah, with Katri, with Kathy Lynn.
Yeah. We played so much great repertoire, and I think Andy, Mr. Jennings, Andy Jennings, it's weird because I'm calling them by their first name, was our coach the whole time. We played a lot of stuff. We had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and we played a lot of great repertoire. I remember with you, though, there were times that you would look at me and you would do this little wink thing, and I would laugh hysterically. I was like, why is she giving me this winky eye? But we never laughed in performance. I was always so worried that we would just start to crack up in rehearsal. And then in performance, you can see from that picture, you would think that we were the most serious people. You would never know what happened, but it was fun. Those were great years.
I think that's the beauty about doing chamber music in a way, that you have this language, that you create this language during rehearsals that probably nobody can really realize, but it's, in a way, it is a way of getting comfortable with each other, and always, of course, very respectful, so
it's learning how to communicate and give people criticism in a constructive way and not a hurtful way. And and I think in any string quartet, any chamber music group, when you play together long enough, you're going to have your ups and downs. But I loved that, even when we had moments where we're like, ugh, we would always come back together and hug. And we didn't have so many really tense moments. I think most of it is it's really hard being a student and being a doctorate student. You have so many things thrown at you, and the concern about graduating and taking your exams, and there's I don't know if you remember the seminar we had. That was fun. And there's so many things, and getting a job, which that's always the ultimate goal. So I think school is fun, but as you get to the higher degrees, it just suddenly becomes so much more serious.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember those moments when one realizes that you are about to finish and become a professional musician, and sometimes one might feel very anxious and a little nervous, not knowing what is next.
You feel very vulnerable because for so long, and into our mid-late 20s, we are students, and Paul was my teacher, Kat, and you have those voices, and to become the teacher, I was the teaching assistant, or had an assistantship, so I did teach at Michigan, but it's different having your own studio, having people call you Dr. Ansel or professor, or it just, suddenly you feel like an adult. And for me, I started at Ohio State. I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if you were there. I don't think you could come to that one. My last recital was September 15th, 2001. So it was 4 days after September 11th. And it was I remember I was packing up, everything was happening, September 11th, and September 12th, I had my dress rehearsal, which went horribly, because I think like everyone else, in America, around the world, my mind was spinning. I think my mom drove out from New Jersey to help me pack up and move to Columbus, because I was starting my job at Ohio State. And my dad flew out on the 15th, I think, and they almost didn't let him on the plane. I mean, it was just so hard to travel then, but he made it, you know. And I remember Justin Bruns came, and it was such a weird time to be finishing my degree and starting a job when there was so much heartache. So
I actually that day I was beginning to teach in Texas, University of Texas, and you know, I didn't have TV at the time or now, but so I woke up in the morning and I heard the news on the radio, and then I went to the university, and everybody of course was all into the news. So it was quite dramatic, no?
It was so dramatic. My sister called me. I was like trying to rest, you know, and I had this crazy week and I'm trying to rest. And I was like, I'm not going to wake up early. I'm going to wake up at 9, not at, you know, to practice. And she called and told me what happened because she was on her way to work. She lived in Chicago at the time. And then I called my mom, and I lived downstairs from Gabe Okoski. So I went upstairs because I knew he didn't have a TV. And then he came down and we were watching the news. It was really surreal.
Yeah. Katri is with us and she says, "Hi, ladies." Hi,
Katri. I see. Should I pull up Facebook Live? I don't even know who's with us. Oh, there we are. I see. Hi, ladies.
Yeah, and Katri was talking about your point about having resilience, you know, when you don't do well in a performance, to just go even harder, you know, from within and make it even amazing. I have that too. I mean, it's so amazing when you know things don't go as you want, and it feels like you have something inside of you that just okay, let's do it. We can do this, you know.
And I learned more. I mean, in the time I hate it, but in looking back through my life, I've learned more through the worst moments, you know, performing or in life. And I've learned more about myself. I've learned more about as a performer, you know, and that's what I try to teach my students. Like, okay, this wasn't a great performance. What did you learn from it, and what can you take into the next performance? You know, do you need to eat a banana? Do you need to, you know, there's always something that triggered it, or did your mind wander in the middle of the performance? You know, sometimes that happens to all of us. So it's hard.
Putting these two subjects together, you know, about, you know, September 11th and about resilience, you know, for me, it's so incredible what music can teach us in our lives. You know, resilience is such an important part of a human being, you know, and we as musicians, we have to learn to be resilient, and that's totally, music teaches that, you know. It's amazing, and I would love if we can talk about this a little bit, Vicky, because thinking about what you said, that you learned violin as a very young age, and then your parents were they also study a musical instrument, and how important that is in the life of a human being. Not necessarily you will become a professional musician, but how important it is. Can we talk about this?
So for me, I'm dyslexic. So I know with my parents, I think they wanted me to have, I keep getting these, oh, I can't turn them off. It's okay. They wanted me to have an outlet. You know, we tried gymnastics, we tried this, because it's super important to have something to focus on. So I can't turn this off. Sorry. So so once I started music, I think it helped me focus academically as well. Because you know, you have to be disciplined. And in the beginning, when you're learning violin, there's so much about it is the repetition, you know, in terms of with your posture. Nope, that's not good. It's, you know, setting up and everything. So I think it gave me a focus, and it was also something that I was good at. I had a good ear. So it brought so much positivity to my life, you know, and it's really hard when you're young. You know, we have so many insecurities growing up. And I think for me, it was the constant, even in moments where it was tough, the better you become at something, the more expectations there are, and, to keep doing better and progressing. And so, and sometimes that can be overwhelming. But for me, I think it was such a positive discipline, and it did, I think, influence my academics, because I then was able to put more focus into my academics.
When I moved back to Chile, 2001, 2002, I don't remember very well. I had the beautiful experience to work in a youth orchestra program. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was a life-changing experience to be there and to realize how music can be a tool for life, no? And I remember one of my students telling me, like, I asked her, why do you like playing the violin, and why do you like being in the orchestra? And she said to me, teacher, I love this because I feel that I have an identity, Mm-hmm. People see me now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's amazing how important that is, for all of us. And you can be a little kid, you can be our age, you can be older, and this sense of that you belong, and
I
the
think,
instrument does that to you.
Yeah, I think for me, I was not athletically inclined, so it was kind of disastrous. So it was finding a focus that I was good at. I mean, first of all, I'm so short. So I remember being on the swim team, and it was great when I was on the the whatever to 11-year-olds. I was short, but I was in the upper end. But then I went to the next age group, and you dive into the pool, and I'm already a foot behind everyone because I was like so small. So it's like, all right, that's not going to work. So, just trying different things. I did try different things. And, I think it's good to explore and figure out what you're good at. And everyone should do that. So, it could be that you're meant to be a botanist. I don't know if you would know that at the age of 5, but, it was nice to just, again, try different things and be like, this fits and this works for me. I know so many kids who they feel forced into music, they're like, it's because their parents want them to do it. I mean, my parents certainly wanted me to do it, but I never felt like I had to do it. It definitely felt like I was a part of the process, and it was a choice to do it. And at any time, I could quit. It probably would have broken their hearts, but they would have been like, all right, go into a real, please, especially now during COVID, please go get a real job. I'm kidding, but sometimes you feel like, people are, I don't know if you hear this, oh, wow, that's what you do for a living? You're a violinist? You're the only professional violinist I've ever met. I'm like, wow, because everyone I know is professional musician, but
yeah. I mean, I think we probably, all of us at some point in our lives, we were asked, what do you do? And you say a violinist, and what else do you do? It's like,
oh yeah.
But you get used to it.
Yeah. You teach violin. Is that all you do? How do you teach violin? You get paid to do that? Yeah. But I mean, it depends. I mean, we were grown up with music in our lives and in our families. A lot of people aren't. So it's just educating them and teaching them about what we do and the importance of the music and the arts as a whole in society.
Yeah. How important, huh? How
it's so
especially
important.
During this time.
Yeah.
Well, for me personally, I think this time of pandemic has been a good moment to reflect, on my life and to observe things that I love, and I think things that maybe I should consider, of changing if there's things that, in a way to perfect oneself, and for me, for example, coming back to my instrument during this time, because I don't practice very much during the year because I don't have time. I conduct, so I'm always studying. So it has been so beautiful for me to come back to the violin,
Mm-hmm.
because in a way it's also for me, first is part of me that is there, with the instrument, like a voice that I have that is very, very intimate, but also this idea of like I said before, of perfecting myself with the instrument. Am I doing this because I'm used to doing this, because it's a habit, or am I doing it because really the music tells me to do it?
Mm-hmm.
So I have been really using the violin like that too. So it has been very beautiful time for me to profound my music with the violin, with the scores, with the piano also. So
Yeah, it's
how does it been for you this time of pandemic?
you know, I do some work with the union, the musicians union in Philadelphia. So I've been helping people.
Hmm.
We've had meetings and there's a lot going on, and I've been helping people with their unemployment and set up their unemployment. So I feel like that's been a good focus for me to have that. It has been nice to learn repertoire, not because I have to, but because I want to, so it's been fun to kind of do that. I miss playing with people. I miss chamber music. I miss, I do a lot of pit playing with the ballet and also in the theater. And, I miss my colleagues. So much of what we do, we're in a really social industry. There's so much interaction. I mean, it's beautiful and artistic, but there's also the social aspect, of seeing your friends and going for coffee between rehearsals or doing whatever. And, it's you don't realize how important all of it is. And then when it's gone, having Zoom happy hours is fun. But now that we're in month 6, I think, or we're in 5th, I don't know. We're in the 5th month. It's definitely getting tiring. I mean, there are a lot of beautiful things. I've gotten to see my family more, and especially in the beginning, I saw my nephews a lot because they were with my parents, who were helping with their schooling. So there's a lot of great things. Not great is too strong a word. There's a lot of good things about it. I've been cooking more, and trying new recipes. There's things that are fun, but I think music for me, and I'm sure for you, is so much a part of my identity. And being with people, both of us are very social, unless you've changed completely. And and I just miss having those musical and social interactions with my instrument and without my instrument. So, it's been tough. I mean, especially not knowing exactly. It's like, okay, we're going to be able to go back and perform at this date. Nope, it's this date. Nope, keeps getting moved back. So it will happen. We will be back and performing and conducting and all of that. But, I think for now it's I'm trying to, like everyone else, I'm mostly positive. I would say 90% of the time I'm positive, filling my life doing more exercise and cooking and practicing. But then there's the 10% of the time where I'm like, this really sucks, So, and I've accepted that, and it's okay to have those moments that I just need to be a little sad, and because that's part of it.
Yeah. No, and also in a way knowing Vicky.
Say it again. I love it. I'm gonna record it so I can be like, oh, Vicky.
that this will end at some point, and just we don't know. I think that's the uncomfortable part, not knowing when or but in a way, if we really think about it, life it is like that, so unexpected. So, but we don't realize.
And there might be some great things that come out of it. It's hard to see that now, and I think just you just know that this orchestra is not performing next year, and this and you just keep hearing of things that are being taken away and closing. And at least in the arts and entertainment industry, nothing's open. So it's tricky. Will they open again? Absolutely. But to what extent? With all these safety precautions. So hopefully we'll have a vaccine and people will feel comfortable enough to be out and performing together. And in Violin, because we have 2 per stand, will we be able to do that, or will we have to do one? Yeah. It's hard to see.
Vicky, do you play in orchestra these these days?
I do. I play in the ballet orchestra. So Pennsylvania Ballet. I don't know why I was like ballet orchestra. What am I trying to say? Pennsylvania Ballet. I'm in that orchestra. I've subbed with Opera Philadelphia, so I've done that a bit, and I play in the Walnut Street Theater, so I've done a lot of musicals in recent years. So, but that's just one. I'm the one violinist there. So the ballet is really the orchestra I play in.
Great. And because I was thinking, we played together in Iris, which was such a wonderful experience.
So fun.
The other day I was thinking, I was trying to remember how the Iris experience happened. How did it happen to you? I'm curious.
I was at Aspen, and Michael Ludwig. No, wait, sorry, he's somebody else. Michael Stern.
Yeah.
another musician. Sorry, Michael Ludwig. Who's wonderful. But Michael Stern was at Aspen conducting, and he was putting together the orchestra. So I think Paul Cantor told me, why don't you contact Michael Stern and see, I think he's looking for players. So I went to his house, and I didn't have excerpts. I was preparing for a doctoral recital. So I think I went and played something from my recital. I might have played, a movement from, Beethoven Kreutzer. I can't remember what I played for him, but it was not an excerpt.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then he invited me to come and play. So then I played for 2 seasons. So I think he set up, a lot of players he pulled from Aspen and from different places. I can't remember.
Because I remember my experience with that was that Isaac Stern was in Ann Arbor.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you remember, I don't know if you were, because this was after school was finished. I don't remember the year. And it was maybe May or June of a specific year. And Isaac Stern was coming to Ann Arbor. And of course, I went to the concert. This was at Hill Auditorium.
Wow, Hill, yeah.
And the concert was finished. And Paul Cantor was there. And he asked me, "And are you in shape?" He did like this, I said,
"Oh yeah, I could see him doing
I'm
that."
always in shape, I said, joking.
Good answer.
And then he said, "Well, Michael Stern is in town and he wants to listen to some musicians for a new orchestra." So that's how it happened to me, Honestly, I was not really in that good shape.
Because why not?
School was over for a while. So, but I remember going to play for him, at school. And so I was curious how it did happen.
Yeah, mine was at Aspen. I don't think, if it was in the summer, I probably was back in New Jersey
Probably after,
before Aspen. And then I probably went back to Ann Arbor, and I drove out, I think that summer I drove out with Nick Fan, the singer. So so I have a feeling I wasn't there. So, because I remember, the Aspen experience, going to the Little Nell or wherever he was staying and playing for him.
Yeah, it was, Iris was beautiful, I think. It was really,
it was fun
experience. Yeah.
And a great group. And I remember our first soloist was Yo-Yo Ma.
Yeah. And, honestly, something that really I loved, which I didn't have the experience before, maybe something that in the States is common, but the fact that we will stay with patrons of the orchestra.
Yeah.
Remember that we will stay with them, and they will invite us for dinner, for lunch. So it was really beautiful that experience with the community, no?
I loved my host. She was
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. She was a little late dropping me off to rehearsal sometimes. So I was
Yeah.
like, I'm so sorry, you know, that happened like once or twice, but it was fun. And then they would have these receptions for us, and yeah, it was nice. Especially for me, I think my first year doing it was the last year of my doctorate. So I was mostly doing recitals. I had passed my first oral exam. Yeah, it's the first set. There's two. So I did that. I'd taken my theory. So I was just playing my recitals. So it was, you know, we did it once a month. Was it about that? Or I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so. I think there was like 6 concerts a year or something like
Okay,
this.
so the first year, yeah. So maybe we did it every other month, or or something like that. So, and I'd never been to Memphis, so that was exciting to go to Tennessee and have barbecue in Tennessee and hang out with everyone. And Justin was there, and Benny and Juliana, I think from our studio. I'm trying to remember who else from our studio. Christy and Carolyn Hubel was there.
Hugo, Felix Wang.
Yeah, he was there. I'm sure there are more people from our studio, from Paul's studio. I just can't think of them right now. Yeah. It was fun. It was a good time. It was like a little reunion too, because I think you at the time were in Indiana, or were you in Texas? You were in Texas.
I think it was in Texas, yeah.
Texas. So yeah, so it always felt
a little way to connect. Yeah. Vicky, do you because I read your bio, and also I read that you do some contemporary music, or do you have some group that you play?
No, I don't now. I had, when I lived in Ithaca, I was in a contemporary group there, and I played some in Columbus, and I've played some other places. But it's funny, since coming to Philly, and it's been 10 years, I haven't done as much. I was really close friends with Steve Stuckey, because he was from Cornell, and he passed, unfortunately. That was horrible. So he would send me like, oh, try this piece, try that piece. He was really helpful, kind of showing me what direction to go. But I think I did one contemporary concert, or maybe 2 in Philly, but no, it's not. I'm sad to say it's not a part of my regular. I wish it was, because it's fun working with composers, living composers, and, you know, influencing their decisions. I've done some at St. Joseph's University, I should say, with students, working with students brought in to kind of play their compositions and give suggestions. I did that for a few years, but nothing with professionals. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, Vicky, it's so great to talk to you, to know how you are, and
you look the same.
Thank you. You too.
You have not aged. I mean, it's amazing.
And I was just wondering if you have any maybe personal projects that you would like to share with us, or anything that
what projects, you know, recently, I don't know, do you know the piece Ferdinand the Bull? Now I can't remember the composer. It's over there. So it's written for violin and narrator, and the union started this virtual concert series, and on Fridays they do children's, like more concerts geared towards the youth, more youth. So I started learning that piece, and now I have a narrator, so we're going to start rehearsing that on Friday, and pick a Friday to play it on. And hopefully I'm looking into another piece that was for violin and narration, but and it's fun. I like working with you know, it's like chamber music except with a narrator, so it's more fun for me. But to try to find a way to do it in COVID where we feel safe, I think it shouldn't be too hard. We'll just be further apart. I started learning Prokofiev's second violin concerto. Have you played that one?
Yeah.
It is super awkward. My hand is like, no, don't do it. I'm like, oh my God. There's certain pieces, you know, because I have a 7/8 violin, I have small hand. They just don't fit well in my hand. But it's been fun to work on that. And then for me, I've been learning, trying to learn the first violin part of the Mendelssohn octet, because I've played the second violin part, the third violin part, the fourth violin part. And one movement I played the first violin, but the second movement I planned this chamber music series in Buffalo, which actually Andy Jennings plays in as well, called Roycroft Chamber Players. And one year, I think it was probably 8 years ago, we did the Mendelssohn octet, and we kind of all moved. So we each played a first part, second part, third part, fourth part. So my first part was the slow movement. The second, I think that's the second movement. I'm sure.
Maybe Vicky, you can do what some musicians have done, like record all the parts. You know, first violin, second, third, fourth.
That would be such a challenge. I mean, that would probably take me until 2025, because I would be like, no, it's not perfect. I don't know if you're like me, once I start taping myself and I get in this hyper perfectionist mode where I'm like, oh, that was this is slightly, oh, that bow change sounded weird. So sometimes I love being in that mode, but there are times that I'm like, I can't go there. I drive myself crazy. But you're right, that would be an excellent project. I'm horrible with technology, so it would probably be unsynced, so it would sound contemporary. So
but it's now that you say, it's amazing, because during this pandemic, with the violin, I probably have recorded myself more than ever in my life. But it is so good for us, you know, to listen, to get better. No, it's really.
I always tell my students to record themselves. I'm like, once you record yourself, you'll hear exactly what I'm talking about with X, Y, and Z. And then I realized that I should do it more. And I do it when I'm preparing for like a audition I have, or a recital or something. I haven't done a recital in a few years. I record myself a lot and get pretty obsessive about it. But then I find that during normal times, I just don't record myself as much. And I should, because it's such a positive way to teach yourself, positive or negative, depending how you see it or hear it. But I learned so much from just listening. You know, there's things that we can't hear because we're right there, and you put the recording on and it's like, wow, I thought I was playing that phrase and making this super musical, and then you hear it back and it sounds like flat. So all right, I'll do it. I'll record myself more now, and then I'll send you the tapes, and you can help me.
Yeah, I when I used to play violin more, I always, you know, had I wish that we could perform and go and listen to myself, you know,
right?
But I guess it's just part of.
It's like when you're in a string quartet. You're in a string quartet and you send one person out in the audience to listen for the balance. We can't. Can't do that for yourself.
It's the same with the conductor, you know. Every time I have a concert and we go to a new place, I go outside to listen, because just to really get the real idea of how it sounds.
Yeah, it's hard. There's so much that goes into it. I love the details. I love that there's always more details you can kind of, it's like an onion. You just keep peeling and peeling, hopefully not crying. But I love, for me, the joy of practicing is in just kind of unlocking more details, you know, with phrasing and tone, and, you know, is this color coming across? Is this completely in tune? And when I'm in a bad rut, I'll set a timer, and I'm like, I can't leave the room until that buzzer goes off. And then I find once I get more and more into a project, I don't need the timer. That I need a timer to tell me to stop practicing so that I don't hurt myself, because it's fun to get into all that detail work. For me, I don't know if it's like that for everyone.
No, but now is the time, I think, to do that kind of practicing, you know, just to work very detail based and
methodically. Yeah.
yeah.
Create our own musical challenges.
Yeah. Vicky, has been so nice speaking with you, and like I said before, I just wanted to create these conversations to know how you are and
our musical memories from Michigan.
Our musical memories.
And there are so many, and it's crazy when you and I got on a few minutes before, and I feel like no time has passed when I see you and we talk. But then when you said out loud, how long has it been since we've seen each other? And it was like 18 years. Are you kidding?
Such a long time.
And I look at that picture and I'm like, well, yeah, it's clearly been a long time.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how time flies, and you've always been in my heart. You know, it's never like you're never forgotten. Mostly because of Vicky, it's packed. And I think you wrote that on my Facebook page once for a birthday. You're like, Vicky, it's packed on your page. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, but I mean, all beautiful memories and just, you know, I'm really, like I said before, so thankful to all of you somehow being part of my musical life in Ann Arbor and experiencing so many things, you know, beautiful moments and as members of the quartet, as friends, and as
members of Paul's studio, which was like a family.
Studio, yeah. And Tom Landshut says hello. Remember Tom?
Yes, cello.
Yeah. And so it's just so great to hear you again, and let's make sure that we stay in touch. And
I know that's one thing about COVID. I think people are becoming more comfortable using Zoom and other ways, you know, FaceTime and everything. I've never, certain friends who live, like I have a friend, I won't say her name, but she like FaceTimes me every day, and it's amazing. And we laughed at one point because she would never FaceTime. And now it's like we call and she's like, do you want to FaceTime? And I'm like, sure. So I think because it's a great, just seeing somebody, because you know you can't be with that person hanging out and being social in the way you used to be because of COVID. It's nice to just, even if it's a computer screen, it's nice to see a face.
Exactly. So Vicky, we will finish now, and like I said, Katri was with us last Sunday, and you this Sunday, and it's so beautiful to grasp the essence of all of you, and to really feel like you are almost here with me speaking.
I know. I want to go through the computer.
So
put a mask on.
Yes. So I really want to thank you for your time, and I really hope that one day we will all get together and make this world a more beautiful world. No.
Yeah.
We're so necessary for each other, and I think in these moments is when you really realize about this. You know, sometimes you take things for granted, but we know that shouldn't be the case. So
yeah, friendships, human contact, and being there for each other.
Yes. So Becky, thank you again for being with me this morning, and I wish you always the best, and you're always in my heart too.
You're always in my heart. Come to Philly. I'm gonna come to Chile too. Chile.
Come.
Chile, right? Not Chile. Chile.
We can create things.
Yeah, it would be beautiful. Beautiful. So I've missed you, and thank you for including me in this process.
Of course, Vicky. And thank you very much. And I hope you will continue watching these Sunday conversations.
Yes, I will. I couldn't watch last Sunday because it was my nephew's birthday and I had to get there, but I will be on next Sunday for sure.
Okay. So bye-bye, Vicky.
Bye, Alejandra.